I know you were thinking you were turning into Michael Mahony of the Tech Alchemist, but today I, Ellen Malcolm Moore, have hijacked his podcast. We've taped him up in a chair. He's going to be fine, so don't worry about that. But I figured it was time somebody interview this guy because, and I'm going to tell you this, I've worked with Michael for about a year and a half. And what you need to know about him is I have never seen somebody go through a more exciting, radical, sorry, there's a plane overhead, exciting, radical mindset transformation. And he's a tech guy, right? So you might not necessarily think of those things going together. But what we want to talk about today is mindset. And Michael is the person that we need to talk to. So Michael, I have removed the tape from your mouth. Just tell folks at home you're okay. Tell them you're
I'm
all
doing
right.
fine. I'm doing fine.
All right, so Michael, let's talk about your journey, your mindset journey, and then we'll lead into kind of where that's taking you for the moment too. But let's go back to about a year and a half ago when we met on LinkedIn. And
Okay.
let's talk about kind of where you were in the world of, brand, marketing, digital platform. Let's talk about where you were at that moment.
Well, the first word that comes to mind is overwhelmed because, we had previously received some advice about um, blogging every single day, turning the blog into a video, turning the video into a podcast. I was spending 35, 40 hours a week creating content, and 0 hours a week growing my business. And it was making me feel like I was a complete failure because here's this business that prior to doing that craziness was doing okay. It
Right.
wasn't gangbusters, it was doing okay. But then all of a sudden, we're struggling to make ends meet because our revenue just plummeted as a result of trying to become. And the answer was always, oh, just hire somebody to do it. Well, when you're barely making it, you can't hire somebody to do anything. So,
Yeah.
my brain was in a place of like, well, what have I done wrong here? And then you came into the picture.
And I did kind of accost you on LinkedIn, as I remember.
Well,
I met.
in a nice way. You you reached out and you asked if we could have a discussion about my LinkedIn profile, and um, I don't know how many people believe in like synergies, but I'm a big believer in synergistic things. And I had actually just finished reading a book about LinkedIn profiles and was like trying to wrap my brain around what it was saying. And then
Right.
you show up and you're like, well, here's what you should probably do. And you gave me, we spent, I think like 30 minutes together, and you gave me a lot of good advice to the point where I had to go back and rethink everything that I was doing on LinkedIn. I didn't love LinkedIn at all, and that's one mindset shift that you've given me is I see LinkedIn a lot differently than any other social platform at this point in time. Anyway,
Yeah.
so it was an interesting experience because you brought to light. You were like, hey, you know what? I can tell by reading your profile that you know what you're doing, but I don't know that other people would necessarily figure that out. So we worked, so if I recall correctly, we kind of went our separate ways for a little while, and we came back together again. And at this point, my wife Toria was like, "Hey, if we're gonna work with anybody, I want references."
Yeah.
And so
Good.
this lady here gives us two references, and one of the references is my wife's absolute favorite client in the whole world that you would have absolutely no way of knowing that they worked together. Like
Yeah.
my wife was a behind the scenes person in that person's business, so it's not like you would have met her or seen her through that other person. And so right away she said, "Well, as long as she gives me good feedback, then this is a done deal." And then the rest is kind of history as far as that goes. I mean, we've become good friends. I mean, I think as good as you can be when one lives in one state and one lives in the other. But it's been an amazing experience. You've connected me with some good people. Um, it's been a fun year and a half's journey so far. I'm looking forward to more.
Me too. And one of the things I love about you, Michael, is that anytime I pick up the phone or we get on Zoom, I know that we're going to go kind of right to the heart of the things that we see around us and the ideas, the common ideas that people teach about digital platform and marketing. And we're going to kind of dissect them and sort of pull out what works. Let's talk about a couple key shifts, I believe, that I saw for you were one, about the kind of clients that you not only that you could work with, but you should work with. And secondly, being a little bit more yourself for you and Toria, communicating in a little bit more free form way. So let's talk about the mindset shifts you went through there.
Well, both of those things are kind of related to the purple hair.
Yes.
The purple hair came about. I've always liked odd hair colors on other people,
Yeah.
always. And I've always wanted, I mean, when I say always, since I've been in my 20s, I've wanted to do it.
Aw.
But if I even had highlights in my hair, people would judge me and say, "Oh, why did you do that? Men don't do that." And um, so with all this issue, we learned that we needed to work with people who were more like us. And it's funny today. That's like a big duh to me. Like I go, well, of course.
Yeah.
But back then, we were trying to be on a solution for everybody, and we were wondering sometimes, like, why do I dread my weekly meeting with this person?
Yep.
And right away we realized it's because of them not really being our ideal customer. And
Right.
by that I don't mean what everybody hears necessarily about Avatar and you know narrow it down to this exact person. I mean just in general, we're very sarcastic people. I'm extremely sarcastic and I'm very blunt.
Yes.
And
High levels of snark and blunt. Yep.
and so you can't have sensitive people that you work with. If they're sensitive, they get very defensive, and it makes me have to change who I am. And when I have to change who I am, then I'm not comfortable. And I understand people say, get out of your comfort zone, but that's not really it. It's more of your who you are as a person uh, isn't what's coming out of you when you have to change who you are. So I learned that. And I also learned that letting go of clients who don't fit that mold was probably the best thing we could ever do. We both my wife and I immediately terminated a single client each. And there's the fear of, oh my God, I just let a $12,000 a month client go away. What am I
Yep.
going to do? And
Yep.
then a $15,000 a month client shows up. So you just sort of go, how did that happen? Oh, and by
Right.
the way, they like the sarcasm. They make the same kind of jokes that we make. They carry on conversations much the same way.
Yes.
There's a synergy that's there. It just works.
Yeah.
And for me, the crazy part was, if I remember correctly, and I'm kind of thinking back about my history here, I think that our first meeting together was in May of 2019.
Mhm.
By that point in time, as I started saying, we were struggling, not even sure we'd make it. And within 3 months, our revenue was sixfold what it was before. And
Yeah.
it was insane. And I can only attribute it to the mindset shift.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that makes any sense.
I mean,
So,
yeah, this is one of the reasons I love to list you as a reference for the work that I tend to do, because again, what I want people to hear from this, it's not some magic person outside you who's going to come and give you the perfect strategy and
no.
tactic. What's different, and I always love the dating metaphor for this because it is very apt. If you try to be married to the wrong person for 20 years, every day is a lot of work. And this person may be very attractive in certain ways. It may be the person your mom told you to date or marry or whatever. But every day, and here's the thing, it's a lot of work to be a small business owner. It's a lot of work to be an entrepreneur. All you all we truly have is the quality of our days. But as woo-woo as this might sound, perhaps to a former, well, a very much a tech expert, but a guy like you who does specialize very much in strategy and the data and those profit centers, you found out that when you got in that energy of being married to the right person, i.e., clients who have the money to pay you, they enjoy who you are, they come in ready to be part of the solution instead of throwing up their hands and being like, yeah, I don't know, you should do stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's so cool. And if people are hearing your story, what I'd want them to hear is here's a guy with an extensive technology background, an extensive data and strategy background. And simply by changing who you were being throughout the days and who you were dating, that wife or that husband that really wasn't doing you any good, a new person comes in. And I think it takes something to say, I'm going to fire the $12,000 a month client. I bet there's a lot of people listening who, when they think about applying that to themselves, it makes their toes curl. But when I tell people your story, this is the part I always concentrate on. Here's somebody who was not necessarily thinking in a mindset of, I deserve to be happy, there's a synergy. And once you went over that way and you really embraced it for you, like what it means for you, not someone else, revenue 6 times. And you went from that struggle of it's all so hard and oh my God, what do I do, to a place where you just kept getting more prosperous. And not only that, but let's talk about other mindset shifts started to come in. Like once you really opened yourself to what
Yeah.
could.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. You use the marriage analogy, and it's actually perfect because, I'm actually on my second marriage. And
Yep.
the difference between the two is being with someone who's supportive and likes me for me, not
Yeah.
for what I can provide for them, not what I can do for them, but likes me for me. So the purple hair can be a thing because if it's something that makes me happy, she's okay with that. As long as it doesn't hurt her, she's okay with it. And I think that's the same thing you need with your business. You need to put your fingerprint on your business that's your own unique self. And what happens is you build confidence that you didn't have before. For instance, I have regular clients who they're like ad hoc clients, and sometimes they just don't think about you, and so you don't get any business from them. Well, I've
Right.
learned to just get on the phone and give them a call and see how they're doing and say, hey, remember, I'm here. If there's anything I can do for you, reach out. And that brings projects in on a regular basis. And that's amazing because before I would have kind of sat back like a wallflower and waited for them. But
Right.
instead, now I'm going after them because why not? It's what I would want to do. If previously it's what I wanted to do. Now it's what I am doing. And
Yeah.
I also think that once I saw the results, they were so quick that it told me something. Never all along, the problem wasn't the type of work we were doing. The problem wasn't the quality of work. It wasn't even my knowledge. It was just working with the wrong people, choosing the wrong projects, and having the wrong attitude about those things. Like, one of the reasons why we all work for ourselves is to have the freedom to set your schedule how you want, work with the people you want, do the things you want to do, and not feel what's the word I'm trying to think of here? Not feel pressured by um, an uncomfortable situation. Because when you find yourself in a super uncomfortable situation that you kind of have to get through, like say like we've both experienced illness issues. You
Mhm.
kind of say to yourself, my gosh, I wish this would just go away. I don't really want to have to deal with this. But at the same time, you have to deal with it. And it's uncomfortable, and there's not much you can do about that. But in your business, there's a lot you can do about it. If you have that customer who makes you uncomfortable, find them someone else to work with and pass them off, because it's like the pay it forward concept. When you figure out that you let something go, better things are going to come back. It
Mhm.
works. And I mean, like in Victoria's case, she terminated that client, and literally the same day she got someone in the same field that paid her double what he was paying her for less hours and didn't treat her like dirt. And
Yeah.
to this day, she still works with him. And he continually tells her that she's the most valuable person in his organization. And it's crazy to think that, a year and a half ago, she was struggling with this other guy, and couldn't stand it. And what I learned from her situation, quite specifically, was that you you have to trust your gut. And if your gut is saying this guy isn't right for my business, then that guy's not right for your business. And you could be wrong, but one of the things you taught us was, and I tell this to people all the time these days, is we have our virtual board of directors. And when we want to make a decision, we ask the virtual board of directors, what would this person say? And then we think in terms of that person, and we make the decision based off of the input we get. And I mean, it's driven a lot of things. Like we're running into almost a 1 year plan for a new business that I think we would have tried to jam through in 3 months if we didn't consult with our board of directors. But our board of directors kind of gave us the feedback that slow and steady wins the race on something like this, and you need to slow it down and do it right, not just get it out there.
I love that you said that. So, folks, what we're talking about is you pick 3 or 4 people. You can pick them from history. You can pick famous people. You can pick family members. This is an imaginary board. And you pull in 3, 4, 5 people that you really admire. And again, I have clients who have a fictional character on their imaginary board of advisors. But the idea is you choose people that you feel inspired by, that are wise, that have different gifts than you do. And you can, in your mind, ask a question to these people and just sort of see how they respond. And because we all have tendencies that don't serve us. Some of us jump into things and force it too fast. Other people just study, data. Maybe they take too much time to get into something because they're afraid to jump. Every single person, all of us, have ways that we do things that may not be the best for us. So what I love about what Mike just said is 2 of the trends I see. Mike, you can tell me whether you agree with me. One, we've got this obsession with numbers that digital marketing has created. So, you have to have 20,000 people on your mailing list. Well, we would argue if you've got 200 engaged people who are the right people who can afford you, that is a more valuable mailing list, especially if you're the author. And then secondly, you don't have to jump on every single idea and trend and make it uncomfortable for you and other people that you work with if you are just being intentional. And what's weird about the whole mindset dating reference is, think about this, think about your digital platform, whatever it is you're doing to let the world know you exist. Well, if you've taken the time to figure out who you really want to date and who you really want to marry, and then you put out a dating profile where you're very stiff and very formal and you're not forthright and you don't really let people see who you are, guess who's going to come into your world? And we always just say to people, you have the right. Have you ever heard the expression that we get in love who we believe we deserve? Like, who we're with is who we believe that we deserve. And I think that's absolutely true for clients. We get the clients we believe we deserve. And if we've been struggling for a while and things have been hard, and we go through a period where it's just scarcity, or, all of a sudden the entire economic structure of the world changes like 6 months ago, we get anxious, and then we just try to start dating everyone. And in order to date everyone, now we compromise our language and who we are and how we're being, because we've got to appeal to all these hundreds of people who might be dating us. And I love that you're a numbers guy, and you switched your mindset to thinking, instead of how much can I do, you moved into this mindset of what is not only the most productive way for me to move, but is good for our long-term happiness. I mean, that's what I see. Do you agree with that?
I completely agree. I think that one of the things that comes to mind from the mindset shift is, I realized towards the end of the year last year that focus is something that every business needs. You have to have focus. And people say, well, but there's so many moving parts. How can you focus? Well, you have to choose. And so first quarter of 2020, focus was video marketing. And what happens is you spend 3 months working on something, you get a process going, and then you just continue it. It keeps
Yep.
going. Now we're what? It's September, so we're 9 months, almost October actually. It's
Yeah.
October tomorrow, so we're almost 10 months into the year. And the last 7 months, the video marketing just keeps happening every week because I put a focus on it. Then in the second quarter, I had a different focus, and in the the third quarter and the fourth quarter, different focuses. But by having a focus, you're able to move something forward dramatically rather than, let's say I had done all the things that I'm doing in the first 3 quarters of the year, try to do them all at the beginning of the year, a little bit at a time. I'd be nowhere right now.
Yeah.
But by focusing, I got video marketing flowing. The new focus is email marketing, and that's starting to flow. We've learned that the mindset thing switches over into the sales copy that we write, because
Yep.
when we write sales copy, you know what? If I want to say something is bullshit, I'm going to say it's bullshit, because
Yeah.
if you don't like that word, then you're not my person. You don't belong working with me, and I don't belong working with you. And it's funny, but we thought, it. I think we instinctively knew this, but we needed someone to say it to us, because we, like when I was with my ex-wife, most of my friends were people she chose to be friends with through her
Mhm.
volunteer activities and whatever. So we'd have all these couples that we were friends with. And I'd always go out and I'd have an okay time when I'd go out with these people, but I never was like elated by having gone there.
Yeah.
And so then when, with Victoria, she came from another country. So, she came from Canada, she came over here, and I immediately started a community meetup group on Facebook. And we started with just one other person and
Mhm.
two other people. Pretty soon it got to like 20 other people. We made, out of those people, we made like 4 or 5 really good friends.
Yeah.
And when I say really good friends, I mean these are people that at any given moment, if I hung out with any of them, they make me happy. I enjoy my time with them. In fact, we get to the point where we lose track of time. And that's exactly what happens in your business, because by having the right people in the on the bus with you, you're happy to do the work that you have to do, and you are suddenly motivated. I have found my creativity has gone through the roof. And you're right, I'm a very much a numbers oriented person. And my biggest problem was that coming through corporate America, I was taught that, you're a CTO. You have to wear a tie, and you have to, like, be really stiff. And, when people ask questions, most of the time you answer, let me check into that. You don't commit to anything. And I
Mhm.
used to think to myself, why am I doing that? I know the answer. Why can't I just give him the answer? That's me. I'm not going to mess around here.
Yeah.
And then I'd get in trouble for it. And so you learn to just zip it, don't say anything. But when you're running your own business, who's going to yell at you? I mean, I'm my own boss. I'm certainly not going to be schizophrenic and start switching chairs and screaming at myself. It turned everything around, but it also made me not afraid to ask for the things that I want. Even with, my wife's my business partner, and there's been times where I have felt maybe her attention to what our business needs wasn't as good as it should be. I ask
Sure.
her for it. Hey, you know what? I need you. I can't do this by myself. I need your input. So I need an hour of your time. And we've learned that that's the way it has to work. Um, you have a business partner. If your business partner wasn't doing what he was supposed to do, and you were just sit back and take it, you'd never progress either, right?
I mean, that's another good whatever marriage dating scenario, because I believe everything's possible and he believes most things aren't possible. And I mean that in a good way. But
That's great.
we balance each other, because I'm always enthusiastic about new things, new people, new ideas. And he's had to drag me kicking and screaming through the digital platform marketplace, because I was one of those people that was really good with an offline business. And weirdly enough, I helped tons of other people with their concepts and their online content. But when I wanted clients, I just went to a networking group and chatted with people. And because I'm a charming pig, you can fill in the MF from Pulp Fiction if you know the reference
Yeah.
I'm talking about.
Yeah.
People who like, not everyone likes me, but people who did were like, oh, okay, I'll see what this lady's about. So there's a balance there that happens, and it can happen with clients too. For me, I think the thing I love most about getting to do this is we definitely are in a team together. I feel like when you're an effective entrepreneur in a B2B scenario, you are on a team with your clients. They need to show up, you need to show up. And if you can kind of understand that that is a reciprocal process, because before you might be like, oh, I just have to impress this person and do all this stuff. I remember early on when people were going through the part where it's really hard, like you definitely went through, you had a time where you're just like, Ellen, what is happening here? In the old, back before doing this a lot, that would have upset me. I would have thought, oh, I'm doing something wrong.
Sure.
I'm whatever, I'm bad in some way. And having done it a bit, I actually enjoy that moment now. Like that moment where it's hard and everyone's just throwing their hands up in the air. And as the expert, you feel like, well, I should have an answer right now. And I love being able to tell people the truth, which is, we're going to find the answer. We don't have it right now. It's not in front of us. We need to keep looking. But what I know is if you can get through that part as a team, the rewards on the other side of that bridge are extraordinary, because now you've moved past, oh, well, there's just this super obvious thing. You should do these 18,000 things. I'll do these 36,000 things and it's all going to work out. I want to go back to a minute, just what you said about the focus for quarters, because I think anyone listening to this, he was talking about his focus in Q1, Q2, Q3. He's got a different area of focus. So if Mike needs to do a podcast and video marketing, he's not going to add all those things at once. He's going to take a quarter,
Right.
work on something until it gets more automatic, until it's more worked out before he adds in a new piece. And I would argue that the single biggest determinant that I see of whether or not a small business is going to be more successful or go in a less satisfying direction is focus. And, that's obviously
Agreed.
what we talk about at Super Type, because there's so many things you have to do as a business owner and entrepreneur. If you don't have that ability to kind of go slow and steady, add, your experience of yourself, talk about a confidence crusher, because you're trying to add, oh, and this and this and this. And then you see someone on a webinar and they're like, oh, I took my business to 9 figures and all I did was this one thing. And you start to believe that shit,
Yeah.
like that feel. And the truth is, often people don't. Sometimes we get lucky and we ride in on a wave of something. We don't even understand that there was luck involved.
Very much
Other
so.
people get hung up on like a particular tactic or strategy, and maybe it's just not a good fit for us. But so-and-so said back in 2010, when digital marketing was relatively new, oh, well, so-and-so, made 9 figures with this. So obviously there's something wrong with me. And all of those breakdowns come from getting confused, like other people's, oh, we should do this, we should do that. And another thing I love about you, and I'd love for you to talk about before we kind of go into what you're doing now, because you have a new focus we want to tell people about. Tell people about your weekly meeting with Victoria, your business partner. Tell them about what works, what's working, and what's not, which I think is one of the smartest things I've ever heard.
Sure.
Tell us
But
about that.
before I go there, though, something dawned on me while you were talking. We talk about working with the right people, and I think it doesn't just, well, I know it doesn't just apply to your clients. It also applies to experts you bring into your business to
Yes.
help you. And as I was thinking about it, like with you, if I had it to do all over again, start at the very beginning, I would have still worked with you, because I would have figured out that, let's say it's this year instead of last year, and I've already learned to work with people that are more like me.
Yeah.
You fit that mold. And like when we came to where you live in Denver, we agreed to get together with you, and it wasn't a obligation, it was a want. And I think that's really important, because how are you going to take somebody's advice if they make you uncomfortable and feel pressured, right? So that's huge. But as far as the meeting goes, it's not actually a weekly meeting, it's a monthly meeting. And
Oh.
what I learned through corporate America, and it's something I've taken and kind of made my own,
Mhm.
is that if you don't manage it, then if you don't manage something, if you don't if you don't pay attention to something, you can't manage it. And so we have actual tangible proof. We meet on a monthly basis. We call it our vital factor meeting, and we have a pre-planned agenda. It's mostly the same agenda with new business thrown in, but there's steps that we go through. And the first thing we do is we review our numbers just to see where the numbers are going. Well, on months when we've forgotten to do our meeting or we've gotten too busy, we don't do it, we have a terrible month because we were not paying attention. But the main thing that what you brought up is we have a section of our meeting where we talk about what is working and what is not working. And some people might chuckle at that. Why do you even talk about what's working? Well, we want to celebrate. We want to say, wow, we brought in this new virtual assistant and she's killing it, and talk about the decisions we've made and how they've paid off. But then you get to the what's not working part. And that one is probably the main reason for the meeting, because we sit there and we say, all right, XYZ isn't working. Maybe as an example, it was the video marketing. Video marketing is not working. I'll give it, that's actually a good example because we were paying somebody $500 a month to create these videos and they were always late. When the videos came, I'd look at them and go, I could have done that myself in 30 minutes. Why am I paying someone $500 for this? So we did a what's not working. And one of the things you do with the not working list, somebody gets assigned that as a project. And there's a goal set around it. And the goal might be, let's say in our September meeting that was the issue. Well, by October 15th, you're going to have come back with a solution to that issue. And instinctively you just solve all of your problems as you go along that are solvable. And sometimes you find that you see things that are way out on the horizon that would have been a disaster, but for the fact that you saw that it wasn't working and you put somebody's mind to work fixing it.
Talk about mindset. This is, sorry to interrupt you, but this is what I love about this. If you every month have a category called what's not working, nobody has to feel bad or wrong or negative. It's a fact of life that stuff works and some stuff doesn't work. And when I heard the first time you said this, I thought it was so brilliant. I stole it for myself and with my partner and sometimes with my clients, because it takes away that sort of bad and wrong, sort of that frustrating. And then again, one of the neat things about synergy that I know you and I believe in, that some people call energy or law of attraction or synchronous, what have you. If you automatically create that space for this isn't going very well, but I want it to go better. And then you put a date on it and you give somebody the job of, okay, you're going to be, you're not responsible for the ultimate solution, but you're responsible of how do we move forward with this. I should probably never say the words ultimate solution on air again. But anyway, that's what, speaking of snarky, so that bit opens up that space for that. And actually, Mike, this is a good tie-in to your new offer and what you're going to be doing, like the new focus for your business, because what you and Tori have really realized is you've come up with some pretty killer things to help small to medium-sized businesses. So would you talk a little bit about kind of the new solution that you guys are moving towards?
Sure. Well, in 2018, I ran for Board of Supervisors in Orange County, and I spent a lot of time talking to business owners. I was given a great strategy by somebody. They told me to go out, find a small business, talk to the owner, and then just have a conversation and then ask them if they put a sign up in their window. And it really worked well. I mean, I expected to get maybe 500 votes. I got over 15,000 votes. Wow. And I had a lot of support in the county. But what it taught me was that there are people out there running businesses, especially in California, they're getting murdered by regulations. Like businesses are just getting squashed by regulations. And so we came up with this idea that we've been batting around for a while, and we finally decided to focus on it and turn it into something big. And you constantly see membership sites out there, and you see people selling the same information over and over and over again, just recycled. And you and I've talked about it before. I don't think either one of us is super fond of the membership model per se, but it works for this situation because what we're doing is we're creating, it's called the Advocates Network for Small Business, and the whole idea is going to be to help business owners and educate them on how to deal with, you want to change that law in your state? Here's what you do. You want our help with it? We can help you with that. But you've got to reach out to us. I mean, it's kind of the, you teach a man to if you give man the food, he'll just keep begging for the food. But if you teach him to find the food and hunt and fish, then he can feed himself. So that's what we're going to do, is teach him that.
I love that. And again, another great distinction. This is when you listen to Mike, you're always hearing distinctions. So listen for what he just said. I mean, to me, what we're talking about is we don't like membership sites when it's repetitive information that you can get a lot of places, that people are recycling and then generally bring in other topics. That there's that. Then there's membership where there's a very specific focus. I would call it super tight focus.
Mm-hmm.
It's very intentional. It's for a specific problem. And it's also addressing what is sometimes called the white space in the market, the missing space, where there's a problem, but there isn't a solution that's available to most people. A membership site is great for that because it isn't the kind of thing that you're just going to show up for one meeting and then be like, okay, we're done now. It's something that's going to take that building that process and learning and being part of a group. Now that is an incredible membership site. And I'm excited for your people there. I mean, this is huge, Mike.
And the thing is, it's not your typical, here's some content, goodbye.
Yeah.
It's more the concept, and I don't want to go too much detail into it because someone will steal my idea, but
we only have a couple minutes left.
So it's a networking and advocacy business. So we're going to bring businesses together. We have a lot of great ideas on how to make that work. We're looking into like swag boxes and how to put those together and how much they cost. And we're going to, I'm going to be talking about this a lot in this show. We're going to be promoting a live event. It'll be a 2-day event to launch this business. And we'll probably do it about 30 days before the actual launch of the business. But we want to show people what Advocates Network for Small Business is going to be able to do for them and for their business. And I think we could leave it there, but it's exciting because it is a focus. And this is where the virtual board of directors really saved our butt, because we would have been like, quick, let's get this done by December. We've got time. Instead, we started thinking about it and we said, wow, what we ended up doing was we put, this is interesting too for the Vital Factor meeting, on our Vital Factor agenda for the last 2 months has been each month and what we want to accomplish for our Advocates Network to get it launched. And we worked backwards from launch day to now. And we spend 20 minutes talking about those things and then setting a meeting outside of our Vital Factor meeting to handle those things, right? And it has changed my stress level to like next to nothing when it comes to this new business, because I know it's going to launch on time. I know it's going to have everything it needs because we've been thinking about it for a year by the time it launches. And when I say thinking about it, I mean giving it attention.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's so exciting. It also kind of combines three things that you personally are very good at. I mean, you are very interested in social justice, in community, and
politics,
all that fun stuff. And when I call you a social justice warrior, I don't mean like SJW. I just mean you're somebody who stands for let's make stuff work. So that's one area. The other thing, of course, you're very good at is strategy. And I think one of the things you have become the most brilliant about is really understanding there's what goes on in our minds, and then there's how it's being received on the other side. And in order for a brand, a business to work, you have to kind of understand that conversation.
You have to ask yourself, what's your impact? You give words, like what is the impact of your words? What's the impact of the idea you have? How is it going to impact society and other people? Because
how are they going to hear it? What
because
are
if
they
you
doing here?
exactly, because you have to know what you want the impact to be so that you can see, okay, well, here's the impact I wanted and here's what I'm getting. I need to bring it closer to what I wanted.
Right.
And it helps you, again, it comes back to that focus. But I was thinking about something. Tell people about what it is what it is that you do, because I know you just went through a rebrand in your business. And one of the things I love is that you have that term. It's been in the 3 brands I've seen you with. It's super tight. And for me, that's actually kind of been something in the back of my mind. Everything that we do is, my mantra is process is, it's all about the process,
Mhm.
and keeping the process super tight is
Yep.
what makes things work. So tell people what it
All
is
right.
that you're doing.
Thank you. We've been Super Tight brand for about 10 years, but that was always hard because a lot of people don't really understand what brand is. They think it's kind
Yeah.
of the logos. So the point was we always had to sort of sell around brand. And we were like, you know what? What we really do is help people create intense relationships with their brand that makes them sell their service or product easily. So then we changed it to Super Tight social selling. And I think that theme is very much there. But again, just trying to make things easier for ourselves. We know that we're really into social selling, but that's not a concept that many people have quite, some people know what it is, some
Mm-hmm.
people don't. And so we're like, all right, let's just make this as easy for people to come into our world. So we are now Super Tight LinkedIn. And the idea is we start with that process. We make sure that people have a LinkedIn system that works for their personality and their brand and what they're doing and who they want to talk to in a way that it's easy to manage. But the cool thing is, while we come up with what all that looks like, we Super Tight the brand and the marketing, the audience, the position. So
Mm-hmm.
we're freaks about really good, Super Tight niches. We are more picky about target audience than anybody I know. Like when people say, "Oh, target audience, yeah, guys in their 40s," I'm like, no, 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 no. So that is what Super Tight means. And whatever iteration we do, it's always going to be Super Tight. Like that's because we can look at a concept, we can look at an audience and a concept and a message and a market. It either is super tight or it isn't. And anybody really can look at their own brand and say, all right, I'm very clear on all these things. And also I can tell it's resonating out there because, money, revenue, people, yay. But we all go through stages where things get muddy. And I think that's normal and it isn't anything bad, but it's okay to work with other people. Doesn't have to be me, but it's okay to get outside help. It's okay to talk to someone else about your concept. And be picky obviously about who you trust, but at the same time, like the description Mike just gave of his new membership service, that is Super Tight. It's for a very specific purpose. It serves a specific person. It is this thing and it's not this other thing. And because he's a smart guy, he's not going to add 18 things on top of that. He's going to let that stay Super Tight. So anyway, I'm Ellen Malcolm Moore, currently from Super Tight LinkedIn, because we just love LinkedIn. We're crazy about it. And you can find me at LinkedIn, Ellen Malcolm Moore. And Mike, if he wants to, can put in whatever the stuff that goes with the podcast. There is a link that we can give you
Definitely.
that if you like, you can sign up for what's called a LinkedIn profile audit. And that's just you and me on Zoom having a chat about your goals and what you want to do with that. And it is complimentary and you don't have to hear about my offer. So
Well, and I highly recommend people do that. I highly recommend people do that, because the reason that we're super tight on our focus on things is from what you taught us. And I truly mean taught us. You didn't beat us over the head with anything. You guided us through a process that took us from point A to point B, and point B was like a much elevated position. And when we take the time to think about that with everything that we do, I can tell you, I've asked questions like when Tori will come to me and say, "I have this idea, I want to do this." Okay, well, why do you want to do that?
mhm,
What's the purpose? What are you going to accomplish by doing that? And
right.
sometimes she'll be like, "I don't know." And I go, then you can't even think about doing that yet. If you don't know
Yeah.
what the purpose is, why bother? And that is exactly why Advocates Network has sat on the back burner for probably a year and a half, because I didn't feel it had a tight enough focus. And
Yep.
once we finally came to the conclusion that, well, this is what it should do and this is
Yeah.
how it should work, then putting together an outline of what needs to be done was like, you could do it in your sleep. But I
I don't
appreciate,
super tight. It was super easy.
yeah, well, I mean, and I appreciate you and everything that you do. And that's, there will definitely be both on the YouTube description, we'll have a link, and in the podcast show notes, there'll be a link to get that audit, because that's where I started. And I'm telling you, at this point, revenue is about 10 times what it was when we started working with you. And that's monthly, and it's consistently on a monthly
I
basis,
love
to
that.
the point that this pandemic, I almost feel bad because there's so many people struggling, and we've just kind of cruised right through it, because I really think it's because we were set up for success before all this happened.
I agree.
And there we didn't even have to pivot. We just kept going straight ahead. So thank you
That's
for
beautiful.
that. And I want to mention our sponsor for the show. That
Yeah. Yeah.
our sponsor is Your Virtual CTO. Your Virtual CTO is a technology services company specializing in increasing your revenue and profit through a close examination of your technology engine. We offer exclusive coaching for business leaders. It's the only coaching program that includes technology as part of the program. And yep, you're going to learn a little bit about technology. So if you want to learn more, go over to getyourvirtualcto.com. And that's pretty much all I have to say
There
today.
you go. And we've untied Mike from the chair. Thank you for letting the rest
Yay!
know. Be careful, because I might be bored next week, so you never know what's going to happen. And we just say to everybody out there, thank you for listening. And again, if either of us can help you, please reach out, because this is like, I mean,
That's why
Mike
we're
and I
here.
have conversations literally all day because we love talking about this stuff. So come
Yeah,
on
that's why
in.
we're here. All
That's
right.
it for me. That's it for Mike.
Bye-bye.
Bye.